Good evening, I'm Jeff Lyons. It is Monday, December 22nd. Time for the First Alert Weather Show at 9. Thanks for joining me tonight. If you have questions or comments, you can put them on the 14 News Facebook page, and I will check those out when we get a little ways through the show. I don't think I combed my hair before I came in here. Oh, well. All right, let's move along here. We have a couple of things happening this week. First off, a big warm-up. Temperatures will flirt with 70 degrees by the end of the week. And secondary to that, we might have a few showers and sprinkles along the way. We already have the clouds moving in now and some patches of drizzle, and showers will be moving in. And as I mentioned, near record highs for Christmas. Now, it'll be pretty tough to knock off 2021. That was the year we had 72 degrees. You probably remember that. People were out in shorts and running around. We were playing pickleball outside on that date. My family was. It was that warm. 2019 was also very warm too. We were up to 68, and that's probably where we will land, somewhere around 68, 69 degrees. 1982 was the other year where we had temperatures in the 60s, and then it falls off pretty quick there into the 50s as you go back a little farther. Over the next 7 days, this mini heat wave will carry all the way into Saturday. Then we get a big drop in temperatures. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, we're at 65, and then we're going to go down to 36. Where's the severe weather? Right now, it doesn't look like we have a storm threat at the end of the weekend. We will just sort of quietly and quickly move back down into the 30s. It's certainly top of mind, of course. We are in the cool, severe season, but we don't appear, at least in the models, to have any sort of trigger or ingredients for thunderstorms, let alone severe weather, and in fact, maybe not even much rain when we make that big transition. There will be showers through tonight and tomorrow as the clouds and the southwest winds continue, but we really don't have any other factors coming our way to rock the boat. So we will remain kind of cloudy and somewhat unsettled in the sense that we will have occasional rain and showers there all the way through Christmas Day. So even though we have these near record high temperatures, it's not going to be a sunny, warm, or hot kind of thing. It'll just be warmer than normal, but with clouds and some showers, kind of like a spring day, really. The clouds here continue to move in. You see a few little fleeting showers there on the radar, but we don't really have any significant rainfall showing up anywhere in the eastern half of the country. Right now we stand at 54 degrees, and the pressure is at 3012. So we have high pressure over the area, and we kind of call this a dirty high. In other words, it's holding the cloud cover in. Earlier today, it looked really good. Of course, we had clear skies and sunshine this morning, but that gave way to the clouds this afternoon. Because of that clear sky, we did drop to 25 overnight, but then quickly rebounded into the middle 50s during the afternoon. And those temperatures represent a 24-degree warming trend from yesterday at this time. It also shows that we have a low this morning that was slightly below normal and a high that was way above normal, 10 degrees warmer than the norm. And 54 may turn out to be the coolest day of the week as we have these 60s coming in starting tomorrow and continuing through Friday, maybe even Saturday. Wouldn't surprise me to see parts of the tri-state hit 70, especially if the sun can pop through on Thursday or Friday. Again, the odds of that are not great, but certainly not impossible to get just enough sunshine there to add a degree or two. For the month, we are still drier than normal, but our year is still the 8th wettest on record since the record began in 1897 at Evansville. For tomorrow, driving around, maybe you're getting those last-minute errands done, or maybe you're heading out already, or you have family coming in for the holidays. It's going to be fine for driving across the Midwest. Here, it will be cloudy with temps in the mid-60s by the afternoon. On the satellite and radar pic, there really is no active weather going right now in the country. We have some rain related to an atmospheric river out here in the Pacific pushing in. We've had some flooding and problems out in the Pacific Northwest, so it's not completely accurate to say no active weather, but not like tornadoes, severe thunderstorms, blizzards, that sort of thing. A little bit of lake effect snow here up around Buffalo, and that's about it. So just, kind of garden variety December weather, quiet December weather. Our high pressures to the south are going to keep the warm air moving in. It will also deflect these cold fronts from coming down and cooling us out. So even though we might see a little wind direction shift tomorrow, it's not really going to have much bearing on our temperature or overall conditions. Through Thursday morning, this is Christmas morning, some rain possible early. That rain should exit the area. We have another chance for rain coming our way on Saturday night. And then after that, the cold air flushes in and dries us out. We should see sunshine, but sharply colder temperatures for the start of next week. On the European model, also showing those scattered showers now. Cloudy skies on Wednesday with a few showers. Christmas Day is scattered rain. So it basically agrees more or less with the GFS model. It is dry through the weekend, and then it does also shift our winds around to the north and clear us out as we return to wintry temperatures early next week. Down to 52 tonight, which is about where we are now, and then we will ricochet back to 63 for the high tomorrow. Nice mild day for December, and it's one of many on the way this week. Thursday 68, Friday 68, our warmest days there. Christmas and the day after, before we bottom out there on Monday with a high of 36. Needless to say, at least through the first part of the year there, that'd be January the 5th, we continue to stay above normal, well above normal. Now that, of course, takes into account these really warm days that will offset the colder temps Monday and Tuesday, and precip looks about normal too. All right, they must grow them bigger and hardier up there in West Salem and Edwards County. This is Riley Seibert's cat, Chromeberry, and I think that's an interesting name for a cat. Beautiful cat, too. Kind of looks like Betty, the weather cat, when she was around. She was that same style there, big furry thing. Anyway, we'll let Chromeberry look over my shoulder here and see what your comments are here this evening. What do we have? Well, no, we don't need that. Okay. Okay. All right, there's Chromeberry right there. So let's see if we have any questions or comments. We got Terry Schultz, heat wave coming. I agree. Shouldn't be 65 on Christmas Day. Of course, we've done it several times here in the last 10 years. Paula Schaefer, I wonder what the weather was when Christ was born. Well, that's a good question. Now, I'll weigh in on that. Now, I'm not a biblical scholar by any stretch. I've certainly been to church and know the story. And, we've heard that story. Those of us that, are familiar with it, it's pretty common that Christ was born in Bethlehem, right? Which would be in the Middle East, today what would be portions of Israel. That part of the country, or the world I should say, mid-latitudes, you're on the Mediterranean there, on the lee of the Mediterranean Sea, they do get snow in that part of the world. I didn't think they did either. You never hear snow mentioned in the Bible. You hear it mentioned in a lot of Christmas songs and carols, but that part of the country, or the world I should say again, is subject to snow and colder temps. But for the most part, I always think of it as more of a kind of like Florida would be here. In fact, the latitude would be about the same, a little bit farther north than that. And so not much is known, and that's my bad. I should have read, something scholarly before I try to answer this question. I'm sure the question has been raised, and some meteorologist somewhere did some of the legwork and research. But because the story has been handed down so many generations, and there wasn't a weather forecast in there, I guess there are, some allude to, cold, dark winter's night and things like that. But generally, would be temperate, I would guess, like in the 50s or 60s. I'm totally guessing now, but just based on the latitude and in that part of the world. Maybe you know. Maybe I didn't read the weather forecast part of the Bible. Maybe that's my problem. Certainly prayed over a few forecasts, but maybe somebody else can weigh in there. Maybe we got a preacher in there or something. Let's see. That's a really good question. I should look that up. Now, I have read the astronomy of the Christmas star, the Star of Bethlehem that appears in all the accounts that the wise men followed and so forth. And astronomically, that has been correlated to Venus, the brightest star typically at this time of the year in the east. And it was probably, Venus or maybe a conjunction of a planet and a star or something. I have read that, and I'm sorry I'm coming up a little light here on actual information that I read, but I know I've read that. But anyhow, you can thumb through your scriptures or what have you there and see if you can put together the weather forecast for me. I do know they didn't have the First Alert app back then. I would be almost certain of that. I've seen no mention of that. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? Jeff Miller has 53 in Sava. Well, that is crazy. And, Paula's thanking me. Well, okay. I think I tried to answer the question as best I can. I think we all, and this, not only with, the nativity, we tend to romanticize Christmas. Like old ones long ago, they kind of get that fuzzy, hazy memory. And so I think, just the sum of all those memories kind of is projected on the actual nativity. At least I do. I don't know. And when I was a kid, we had one of those, we had a crèche, a nativity scene that was under the tree, right? And I'd always, work on the aesthetics, getting the star just right and all the characters, lined up appropriately and so on. It was like a little stage to me. Anyway, that's probably more than you wanted to know or cared about. Speaking of astronomy, let's talk about that for a minute because, of course, we had the winter solstice yesterday, the shortest day of the year, the sun as low as it's going to get at noon, or any time actually, but as low as it gets on the horizon. And I read a really good post yesterday. Actually, Scott Connor, a friend of mine, and he's an astronomer, reposted it. And I'll kind of paraphrase it for you. But basically, the solstice is not a day, it's a moment in astronomical circles where the sun stops its drift to the south briefly, and then the sun will begin to climb in the sky. Now, we have the benefit, of course, today of modern astronomy, equations, simple observations. And one of the things that probably illustrates it best, and I show this all 4 times of the year, I show it at the 2 solstices and the 2 equinoxes, is the analemma. I've always wanted to photograph the analemma, but it takes a year, and you have to have the camera set up and pointed in an area where you can see the sun, and then you would get an exposure. I guess in the film days you would do an exposure each day. Now with digital you would composite the images. But essentially you'd take a picture every day at noon or every couple of days at noon. And what it does here in the mid-latitudes where we live, so we're at about 38 degrees north latitude, give or take. 38 north, by the way, is Allen's Lane for those of you in the Evansville area. If you drive on 69, the 38th parallel is marked. If you know your history in the Korean War, the 38th parallel divided North and South Korea. So the 38th parallel is kind of a thing, certainly here in the tri-state because it runs right through here. But anyway, the point is it's mid-latitude, halfway basically between the equator and the North Pole. So if we were to point a camera to the south and take a picture of the sun each day, here's where we would be today. I mean, it's as low as it can get. And then by the first day of spring, it'll be up here. The first day of summer, the solstice, it'll be up there. The importance of this is that down here at the bottom, you see how that figure 8 kind of widens out. Well, that's the slowing of the loss of daylight. And then we begin to accelerate adding daylight on, minutes of daylight, as we approach the equinox, equal day and night, right about 12 hours of each. And then through mid-March all the way up to June, we really add the daylight at an increasing rate up until about May, and then it slows down a little bit. But anyway, I've always wondered, and I've read, how to get this image. And, you have to dedicate a camera pointed in the same spot every day for a year. I'm sure there are ways to do it now. If you had a mount for the camera, it would find that position and take it. But anyway, this is one of the things that astronomers first discovered, after they could do this. And earlier observers noted the position and had sketched the analemma prior to photography. So it was known as well. And this is created, by the way, because of the tilt of the Earth. If the Earth were like that, the analemma would not look like that. It would be, I guess it'd be circular almost. It would not be figure 8. It would not be elongate. So right now the sun is directly over the Tropic of Capricorn, which runs right through Australia. It's also the first day of summer in Australia and all the southern continents there. So that would be essentially the southern half of Africa here. The equator actually runs a little farther north than that, runs right through the northern part of South America. And then this is the Tropic of Cancer. Now on the first day of summer, the sun will be directly over that because, again, remember the Earth is going around the sun, and so the orientation of the sun changes a little bit because of that tilt. And I've shown this graphic many times. I'll show it again. Here in December, we have a net loss of about 13 minutes of daylight. Now we were losing coming up to the solstice. We will put on a few, less than a minute or two of light in December for what's left. In January, we start to add a more significant amount of daylight each month, and that really speeds up then in February and in March. So anyway, something to think about there as we wrap up the weather show here at 9. Let me see if there are any other questions, or if we have any. No churches are calling in to correct me. Well, I guess that's good. I mean, I'm trying to do my best here. I don't sleep in church. I really pay attention. Honest to Pete. And there's 4 gospel. I thought there were only 3 accounts of the Nativity. There's Luke. Anyway, we won't get into Bible hour here on the First Alert Weather Show at 9. But each of the Gospels that describes it is a little different, but essentially the same thing happens. So yeah, let me think on that. I'll do a little research. I will consult with the authorities and see if we can get a weather, not forecast, but a weather almanac for this date back then. All right, well, there we are. I will see you on 14 News at 10. Now I've got a lot of work to do here, and I will see you then, of course, tomorrow here on the Weather Show at 9. Thank you for watching. Have a great night and stay safe.